Hey everybody, this is Alzorath, and welcome to another episode of Deck Breakdown. Today I'm going to be covering a bit of scrolls, and it's going to be a little bit of a short episode, but I feel it's a little important to address as I see a lot of people, even streamers and commentators alike, making a lot of mistakes in this field. And while I'm not the best player there are observations that I've made and that I use consistently to get the results that I want. And I have a solid 75% win ratio with all of the different types of alignments or energies that you want to call them. And it works out for me, and I feel like some people would probably benefit from some tips here. And these tips mostly apply to laning and positioning. Well, your rows. Now, to start this off, we kind of have to establish that, well, identities for the lanes and rows. So we're just going to number them top to bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And from left to right, A, B, and C. This is your field. And your opponent has basically the mirror. 3, 4, and 5. And this is kind of how the field looks to me whenever I'm playing. I see the columns and I see the rows. Now, if you've watched any strategy videos regarding scrolls, you know that this middle lane is the most important. Without a doubt. It is by far the most important. And there is no denying it. Controlling this lane is essential to winning the game. What most people mistake that is meaning you have to have creature presence here and be dominating it to really win. And while dominating it doesn't hurt, it's not the only way and it's not the only answer. You should be a little bit careful about your use of units. Let's say you're in a situation where you got a weak hand opening and your opponent got a really strong hand, and they're just gonna completely own that. Forgot the N in there. There we go. They are dominating it. Now, what I've seen a lot of people doing, which makes me just like furrow my forehead and cry a little on the inside, is people just continually throw their creatures in the bin to control this thing, and that's all they're doing is throwing them in the trash. Boom. Trash. And it's costing them games. They're just losing because they are going so much after that middle row. Well, for me, I really have to say that if your opponent is dominating there, don't waste resources. Instead, flank them. This brings me to kind of like the second point of what I see people making the mistake of. They seem to think that 2 and 4 are flanking. These are not flanking. Flanking is not just attacking the sides of the line because, well, the opponent can easily move this dominating line up and down 1. No, if you're going to flank, come in from 1 and 5. This forces them to decide, hey, do I see the threat up top as the most important or the threat down bottom as most important? Or do I want to try and split up and take them both on? While they do have strong setup here, splitting up this strong setup leaves this exposed, and it forces you to be able to decide, well, if they're sending the bigger threat up top, then I can build up down here and start taking them on and slowly shift up and over, and I can take out those 3. So you may have just sacrificed that and possibly that because they're moving up, so you can take out and win the match. Now, this is very like the core of my strategy. If you are losing the middle, move to the sides. If you control the middle, don't let them split you up. If they're up here, coming in on this, if they have decided to take my advice and flank you, you don't have to worry about losing those 2. You still have these 3 here that can survive from these guys moving up and down to control 2 and 4. And you can still build up on these, meaning you will have an answer to these outflanking things. So don't be baited, but try to bait if you need to survive. And let's go ahead and get another layer on there. I'm doing this in a painting program. I will add music later. I am sorry. But that is the importance on laning. I see too many people focusing just on this and saying, oh, control the middle lane, or the middle lane is the most important. That is only part of the picture, because these lanes are just as important to controlling this as this lane is to controlling these. And please, for the love of all that's good and holy, don't go after these if you're losing the middle. It's just as much of a waste of units as trying to go in the middle against a dominating opponent. I'm just going to say that right now. You make baby scrolls cry when you do that. Now, the second part that I really wanted to talk about was columns. Now, this is a little harder to graphically denote, but if you're in column B, that's column B. If you're in column C, and so forth. Now, some people say put walls on the front. Like first turn, you drop a wall there, drop a unit here. Let's use triangles for units. And that's that. There is much more to consider whenever dropping units. I see a lot of players, whenever they're starting off, let's say they get a Ragged Wolf, they just drop them right there in the front. That's just asking for that Ragged Wolf to get thrown away. Against an energy opponent, positioning is a little less important unless they've got, say, a Bombard lobbing right there. In which case, you can still move all the way around there, and you can go through here with 1 turn of damage. It's not too horrible to maneuver around those. But against Order or Growth, you don't want to limit your options. On your first turn, don't drop a unit here or here. If you are the first one to get a creature out, you want that creature right there, unless it is a creature that is specifically needed to go on a flank. Personally, I almost always will drop a unit right there unless I know that I will need to flank. Say I get one really crappy unit as my only draw, I'll drop it down here, forcing them to either try to establish themselves in that middle and start dominating there while I build up with decoys while they're slowly moving down there to take care of them. I'll build up a hand and then establish up here, meaning this takes 2 turns to come up while this takes 5 turns to come up. Unless they've got change of plans. Now, I keep distracting myself with the laning discussion rather than the columns, but the reason why I drop in this middle row is look at how many move options you have on these B columns. You can move any direction. Boom, 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 and boom. Whereas this meaning you can drop a unit here, or if this unit is a good blocker and you just got a better unit that you want to keep alive, move the blocker right there and drop the new unit right there. Your units are mobile. Too many people seem to forget this while playing this game, and it costs them matches. Use your mobility, use it to your advantage, and control the field both in the lanes, as I said, and the columns. Don't be wasting units just by throwing them right up front and under the bus. Now, another thing, now that I accidentally deleted my numbers here, let's go ahead and throw that up there just real quick. Another thing is don't forget there is a difference between a relentless and a not relentless. Let's say you have non-relentless guys here controlling the middle, and one of them's going to attack this turn with, let's say, 7 damage. Let's say it's some big, ugly guy, and you have your main damage dealer here, and you have, say, one of your boosts here, say a totem or something. And you don't want either of these guys to die. This non-relentless guy, if you have even just a Vater or a Sister of the Fox, or heck, even a proximity mine or something like that, throw it up here in front. That 1 life unit, that 1/1, will stop all of the damage from a non-relentless. It will slow them down completely, giving you a time to get these things moving. If they can't kill it, you can get them moving out of the way and drop more. Just discard units there. Losing a unit is not losing board control, though you do want to keep the majority of your units together, or alive, I mean. There are times and places to throw them under the bus, especially as order and growth. As energy, you do have big tanky things you could throw in front that just could soak even a relentless opponent. Now, if you're facing a relentless guy here in the middle, and you're in the same situation where you have the creature you want to keep alive, or even 2 creatures you want to keep alive because they're your main hitters, throwing that little 1/1 here, it's just going to trample over it and run them over. So you kind of got to get them out of the way. I see a lot of people who, when they're trying to get out of the way, will move them to the same freaking lane. This is another no-no. Don't do it. Don't do that. Instead, make them decide which big beastly creature you want to kill so the other one can keep moving forward. Or they'll might even come through and kill that middle idol. Meaning, when these guys get the turn to attack, you can move them right back in and take them out. Now, chances are, if it's a relentless creature and they want to get rid of those guys, they're going to move it up or down to take out these guys, leaving your other one unscathed. And in this situation, if this relentless is there, I would go ahead and throw that little weenie unit right there in that exact same spot, but remember to move these guys as well. That way, when he moves up to take out this guy, who's just moved up here, you can move this down to provide a little bit more protection should he drop some more units down here for this important unit. That will just trample over him. There's a lot of mistakes like that that I see a lot of people making. Now, I could go a little bit longer on this and I could talk about specifics, but I'd like to open the floor to your questions regarding laning and the columns and what you think I should really talk about in regards to other aspects of it. Are there things you want to know about placing walls, or why do I usually place my totems here and here? Well, I can actually explain that one, but that's simply because if I place 2 totems, they're going to have to decide how they're going to come after them, because everybody's fighting over this middle row. They're going to have to take one out and then take the other one out, unless they want to drop units in just different positions, so they're kind of spread out thin. There are reasons, and you'll actually see this in some of my videos, there are reasons to actually stagger your troops in a format like that, because let's say they have a Thunder Surge, they can't hit them all if you're spread out kind of like that. Have one guy down here. That's an important thing to notice. Won't protect you from Quake, though. So, yeah, if you guys would like information on more things about laning or columns, ask in the questions. I'll probably make a follow-up video if there's any really good questions. Otherwise, I will just type out the responses. Be sure to remember that I'm going to be using these numbers and these letters to answer the questions, though, so there's no confusion as to where I'm talking about. And if you'd like to know about enemy tells whenever it comes to their laning or positioning, I can probably do that as well. And while I'm not a top tier player, I do have a lot of history in strategy games, so I hope this helps, and I hope some of you are able to beat those opponents that you were having trouble with before, especially some of you that were having trouble with the AI by the advice given here. And yeah, this has been Alzorath. This is my first test on giving some Scrolls deck breakdown-y kind of advice. And yeah, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you guys keep gaming, have fun, peace out. And yeah, this has been Alzorath. Bye.